Hello, everyone. Have you ever been in a business meeting and not know what to say? You want to express some opinions, but the right words don't come to you. Don't worry, I've got you covered because today we're going to go through 20 business English phrases for meetings. And the best part is that I'm going to explain to you exactly how to use each one of these phrases. So let's get started. In this first part, we're going to look at 4 phrases that you can use when you want to express an opinion or when you want to contribute to the conversation. Let's start with our first phrase for today. Based on the data we've reviewed, I believe something. You use this phrase when you're presenting a conclusion or opinion based on evidence or data. And here's an example. Based on the data we have reviewed, I believe the project will take at least an extra 2 weeks to complete. Let's go to the second phrase. From a strategic perspective, I would suggest that we do this. Use this when offering an idea with a focus on long-term goals or a bigger picture. Here's an example. From a strategic perspective, I would suggest that we expand our market research before launching a new product. Number 3, in light of recent developments, this is a very nice way to start your opinion. I'm inclined to think this. Use this expression to introduce an opinion that takes new information or changes into account. So in light of recent developments, I'm inclined to think that we should delay the product launch until we finalize the project. And here's one more. I'd like to build on what James mentioned and offer this point. So you're going to use this if you want to agree with someone and add some related data or an extension to their point. For instance, I'd like to build on what John just mentioned and offer this point. We might need to adjust our timeline based on the results. Right, let's move on to another 4 phrases that you can use when you want to ask for clarification or more information, something that happens quite often in business meetings, and I want you to feel comfortable using these phrases. If you want to ask for more details, you could say, could you provide further insights on how that would impact our something? Okay, so use this one to ask for more details about the effect of an idea or a decision. Here's an example. Could you provide further insights on how that would impact our budget allocation for the next quarter? Here's another one. I would appreciate it if you could expand on that idea, particularly in relation to this topic. So ask for more information or an expansion on a specific part of a conversation. For instance, I'd appreciate it if you could expand on that idea, particularly in relation to the scalability of the solution. Can you clarify the rationale, the logic behind that suggestion? Because I'm not entirely clear on how it fits into the big picture. You'll use this to ask for an explanation of the reasoning behind a proposal when it's not fully understood. For example, can you clarify the rationale behind that suggestion? I'm not entirely clear on how it fits into the bigger picture of our company. When you say X, are you referring to Y? I just want to ensure we're aligned. When you want to clarify and ensure that you're on the same page. For instance, when you say customer satisfaction, are you referring to our NPS score? I just want to ensure we're aligned on this topic. Now let's move on to 4 sentences for offering alternative ideas or suggestions, because you don't always agree, you don't always need clarification, you might have another idea. So let's take a look at some phrases. Perhaps an alternative approach could be to do this. Perhaps an alternative approach could be to conduct a pilot program before rolling out the new processes across the company. One consideration might be to approach this from a different angle, such as this one, if you want to suggest a different perspective or a solution to a challenge. For example, one consideration might be to approach this from a different angle, such as focusing on customer retention instead of acquisition in the next quarter. While I see the value in that proposal, I think it's worth exploring to acknowledge the merit, the value in someone's idea, but suggest looking into another alternative. So while I see the value in that proposal, I think it's worth exploring whether we can use automation to streamline this process further. And here's one more. I'd like to suggest we explore an additional avenue which could lead to this, to suggest another approach that might bring better results or insights. For example, I'd like to suggest we explore an additional avenue which could lead to cost savings through outsourcing. Now, let's look at how to agree or disagree politely. Obviously, it's easier to agree politely, but how do we also disagree politely? One expression you could use is, I see the merit, I see the value in your suggestion, though I would argue that, and offer another alternative, a counterpoint. I see the merit in your suggestion, though I would argue that a more detailed market analysis would be necessary in the future. I understand the logic behind that, but I have reservations regarding something. To politely disagree, highlighting your concerns or your reservations regarding an issue. I understand the logic behind that, but I have reservations regarding the implementation timeline, as we may face some delays with suppliers. While I'm in agreement with the overall direction, I believe we need to reconsider something. So you agree with the general idea, but want to highlight a specific issue that needs addressing. For example, while I'm in agreement with the overall direction, I believe we need to reconsider the marketing budget allocation because we're spending too much on paid ads. And here's another polite way to say something. That's an interesting perspective, though I'd like to propose a slightly different viewpoint when you want to offer your alternative view. That's an interesting perspective, though I'd like to propose a slightly different viewpoint on how we could handle customer feedback. And let's move on to our final 4 phrases when you want to participate in decisions or offer your feedback. I'm confident this approach aligns with our objectives, assuming we factor in this issue. So show your support for a suggestion, but also mention a condition or a consideration. I'm confident this approach aligns with our objectives, assuming that we factor in the potential risks in the upcoming quarter. If we address why, I believe this strategy could be highly effective moving forward. Here you're expressing your support for a strategy, but also suggesting or addressing a specific issue for success. If we can address the data privacy concerns, I believe this strategy could be highly effective moving forward. I support this direction, provided we clarify a specific point. For example, I support this direction provided we clarify the communication plan with the external stakeholders. And the last phrase for today, this seems like a promising solution, but I'd recommend a deeper analysis before something. So it seems like a promising solution that I'd recommend, for example, a deeper analysis of the financial impact before we proceed. And there you have it, 20 powerful phrases that you can use in your next business meetings. Which one was your favorite? If you want to look at further phrases that you can use in your meetings, check out the next video to really get your practice going.